They tried to quench the fire, drown it all in chains, tried to break our will and wash away our names. But every spark they buried only fed the flame. Now the cry of freedom's roaring through the rain. Hear the cry of freedom on the winds of change. Every voice united, breaking every chain. We were born to stand and never bow again. Let the fire of liberty forever reign. Forever reign. Now the walls are shaking from the battle cry. Truth is rising to the sky. Every soul that ever felt the weight of chains feels the fire of freedom in their veins. No more chains, no more lies. Hear the thunder as we rise. Freedom's call won't be denied. Now the fire burns worldwide. Hear the cry of freedom on the winds of change. Every voice united, breaking every chain. We were born to stand and never bow again. Let the fire of liberty forever reign. Let the fire of liberty forever reign.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. The players will man the rigging soon. Aye, your hands, follow me. From Long John shadowed silver grin to Jim with compass true. We speak the words, we wear the scars, we make the old world new. No gold without the work behind, no legend without sweat. A stage, a ship, a single breath. The course is not set yet. We players sail, we players sail, we players sail soon.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez.
Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin, even God took a beat. So, suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday. Cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise them up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. HR in the break room sounding like a preacher, talking Talking about culture smiles and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the fluorescent light. Selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans, and grease on my hands. Clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like chains hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out alive. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait, it ain't on me. So raise 'em up high, let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday, that's all I know. Boss can have Monday, God on Sunday, but Friday night's mine, I ain't giving it away. I earned this beer, I earned this pay, earned every sip I'm about to take. Thank God it's Friday, punching out alive. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait, it ain't on to me. So raise 'em up high, let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday, that's all I know.
And welcome into the It's Finally Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. I want to give a quick shout out to Raptor, already chilling in the chat. I know I got some other folks that'll hopefully be here in a few minutes. Want to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out with us. Our numbers have taken a hit since they keep changing the algorithm, but we're still going strong and we're not stopping anytime soon. Because folks like us are the only ones that try to tell you the truth. Like, as an example, if you listen to the zombie media, the left is winning the day everywhere. But if you pay attention to shows like this, you'd realize if you take a second to read between the lines, they're actually having a no good, very bad, terrible year so far for 2026. Yes, there's been some elections they've won and some things that we weren't expecting for them to win. And before you get started, the Republicans aren't having a much better year either, and we may actually take them apart a little bit more in detail on Monday. But the Democrats, every time they think they're winning, karma comes and just punches them right in the face. And we've got a bit of that we're going to be talking about today. I also did a guest spot on Behind Enemy Lines Radio last Wednesday night. And I thought it was a spirited discussion because Gene and I have known each other for a while. But he promoted it yesterday because he made it the featured clip for the show that apparently he and I got into it. See, I didn't really see it that way. But yeah, we'll let you guys decide because I've decided I'm going to play that clip today too. We also have Her Hotness's presser that if it starts within the boundaries of my show, we will likely get to. I will have a 1 p.m. Eastern hard stop regardless though, because I have to be back an hour after that to do the weekend news roundup, and that's my lunch break. So also don't forget tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, it is time for the KLRN radio players to set sail for Treasure Island. I'm still working on my pirate bit. Don't judge me. Too much. Not that, dude, if you knew how uptight I was when I was a kid versus how I act now that I'm older, some of you would be like, I don't even recognize you anymore. Yeah, I used to be really, really just kind of straight laced and rigid. I kind of outgrew that as I got older. And apparently, some people didn't like the fact that I was starting to have fun with my life because they're not here anymore. Anyway, okay, so I don't even where to start. Where to start? Because there's so much. Okay, so again, of course, we had to throw in the Finally Friday stuff because it is, but the show is titled "The Left's No Good, Terrible, Very Bad Year," because the other way I wanted to do it was too long. So for those of you who don't know, I steal that line often and that title often from a children's book, and I think I always cut part of it out just so they're like, he's stolen our title. But anyway, so so again, the lefties, despite what the media is telling you, are not having a very good year. And I don't just mean a bad poll here or a bad cable news hit there. You know, nothing like a guy farting on national television and then trying to deny it. The one thing that I want to know is why was that such a big deal? I mean, I get it. I'm 12. The humor doesn't escape me. But the fact that somebody, when they were like, it sounded like he farted on air, and he said, no, I was nervously shifting under the chair. And then somebody used, I think it was infrared to show the cloud escaping. And I'm like, I don't really know why it was that necessary, but it was kind of, believe it or not, it was kind of the beginning of the end for Swalwell. It just took a while. So for years, we were told that these were the people defending democracy. These were the people defending decency. These were the people defending compassion. These were the people who knew better than the rest of us. They were the adults in the room, the guardians of the institutions, the experts, the anti-hate crowd, the democracy crowd, the just trust us crowd. But now, the problem is, all these things that they have been putting out into the universe saying that they were the experts of, the receipts of these facts are now coming due, and those facts and the receipts don't match. Because the funny thing is, and we're going to start with Virginia and then probably move into the SPLC because those are the two biggest hits for today. But the Virginia thing, remember, she ran as a moderate. She kept telling everybody, no, I'm a moderate. I'm not one of these crazy socialists. I'm not going to redraw the maps. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And then the second she got into office, she did all the things that she said she wasn't going to do. And I've been saying this for a while. I don't understand why they pulled the trigger so soon. Because and this is my point. They must already have a fix in of some kind for the midterms for them to be pulling the trigger so soon on all the things that they're trying to do. Because what would have made sense, and I said this about the commie, and we'll be getting into him today too, because the folks in New York City aren't real happy with him anymore either, which is interesting since, you know, most of the people that are mad at him right now are the ones that carried him by like 40 points or more, and now they're really, really mad at him, but we'll get into that later. But for this thing, for Virginia, for Spam Burger, and yes, I know I'm mispronouncing her name. I do it on purpose. It's all right. It's all right. You'll get over it. But seriously, she did all the things that she said she wasn't going to do. And now Virginia has a huge case of buyer's remorse to the point where it took them $70 million and the almost exact right amount of mail-in ballots for there suddenly to be switched from a no vote to a yes vote, only for the courts to come in and say, yeah, we're not so sure about that. Then you've got Hakeem Jeffries basically giving a veiled threat to that particular court, and we'll get into that in a moment later today as well if we have time. But there's just so much going on. It's hard to figure out what I want to talk about anymore because there's just so much going on, and I feel like there's this common thread that's starting to weave its way through, and that is this. The people that kept telling you they're on your side and they're there to help you and they want to make things better were lying to you to line their pockets. And I'm going to openly say that about both sides for the most part. And if you don't believe me, a quick hit over here on the other side before we do the deep dive on them on Monday, because we're going to, because trust me, I hit both sides whenever possible because they deserve it. John Thune has already given the marching orders to the Senate, and he says to stop talking about the idea of nuking the filibuster because it's not going to happen. I want to know why that man's still in charge. When you've got folks like the Raging Cajun Carville saying, if we get back in charge, we're going to do this, and this on day one. And if you don't think people are still listening to him Got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you, but I don't understand why our side isn't willing to fight by the same rules. We know that something shady happened in Virginia, and now we're leaving it up to the courts that are heavily stacked against us anyway, because our side seems to still want to think that our systems work, when in reality, most of our systems are already broken. And I'm sad to say they may actually be broken beyond repair. And that is not something that I say lightly or take easily when I say it either, because this is the 250th birthday of our country this year. But you want to know one reason why I think things are broken beyond repair? You know what everybody who was old enough to remember the 200th tells me? There were flags and the little stars and stripes buns or whatever the hell they're called, like everywhere. There were ads, there were commercials, there were fun things to do all year long somewhere. And most everybody's canceling their celebrations this year because Orange Man bad. Because Orange Man bad. And I don't think people understand exactly how bad things are, but we're going to keep going here. You may or may not hear one of my dogs having a bit of a fit. My children are outside working in the yard. She wants to be out there with them, but she's too small. A hawk will carry her off if she's outside too long. So in Virginia, the democracy crowd suddenly seems very interested in redrawing maps when the political math does not work out the way they want. In New York, the compassion crowd voted for the big progressive experiment, then started suing when the experiment showed up in their neighborhood. Yeah, I told you, we got a lot to get to today. With the SPLC, the anti-hate watchdog is now facing federal charges over allegations involving donor money, confidential informants, and extremist groups. And now, again, got to be careful here because these are all allegations, and they do actually still get due process. But the story is explosive. CBS News reports the indictment includes wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and false statements charges. While the SPLC denies the charges, they say it will defend itself in court. Now, I want to stop here for a minute, just to kind of put a little bit more meat on this before we continue. There's also, and I saw this from somebody who was a donor, who was doing a very long post on X about that and how he thought he was helping and thought he was fighting for the right side and thought he was doing this. And he liked the fact that he could basically just give money to something and then they would do it for him. So he didn't really have to do anything himself. But he still felt really self-righteous because he was fighting hate. And he had the hate doesn't belong here bumper sticker and everything that the SPLC gives you when you donate to them. But here's the funny thing. Here's what he found out. One of their paid informants was in a group chat regarding Charlottesville. And he's apparently the guy that got it all popped off. If you tie the reports together, allegedly. So what do you do when, and trust me, there are lots of us that have been trying to tell you this for nigh on 20 years. What do you do when you find out the party that says that they're the ones that hate all the bad people are actually the ones fomenting, stirring up, and paying all the bad people? I tried to tell you guys this was going to come out eventually. I've been saying this for years, ever since I started doing this publicly, and everybody wanted to start screaming and yelling about how dumb I was because I didn't recognize that the parties actually switched in the 60s and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. That's very convenient. It's also not true. For all the raging leftists today who are screaming and yelling about, white supremacy and all this stuff, guess what? We had most of that. I'm not willing to say all of it because it's never going to completely go away. I wish it could. I'm going to be honest. I wish there was a way I could snap my fingers, Thanos style, and all the white supremacists would be gone. Can't do that, though. But the thing about it is, what they started discovering, especially folks like the Southern Poverty Law Center, was there wasn't enough grassroots racism anymore for them to be able to do what they needed to do. The scariest thing about the SPLC is they're supposed to be a not-for-profit organization, and yet they were finding ways to foment fear and push ideologies that they knew most of us would disagree with to get people to donate to them. And the funny thing is, because I've known people that have donated to them, and I've always asked them, how do you know what they do with the money? Well, they fight hate. Well, how do they do that? Let's talk about something else. Because they don't care. They give 10, 20 bucks a month, which to them, $120, $240 a year. And it makes them feel good because they're fighting hate. They haven't done anything, but they're fighting hate. So it makes them feel like they've accomplished something because they're giving money to people that are supposed to help make sure that other people don't face hate, right? But what happens when you find out that they're the ones that are paying the hate? And this is what set the donor off, because he doesn't even care. It's not about whether they set it off or not. It's about the fact that they were using his 20 bucks a month and other people's 20 bucks a month to pay informants anywhere between $120,000 to $240,000 a year. So he was giving money to an organization that was paying white supremacists who had supposedly been flipped to become informants more than he makes a year. And they were taking his money and other people's monies to do that. So look, even if you take this story on face value, let's strip the whole, were they using them to start the riots argument away. Just for the moment, let's just assume that didn't happen. Let's just look at this just as straight angle as possible. I know some of you are making a joke about my eye right now. I don't care. Just kidding. I don't know if you are or not, but I probably would have been if it were me. So anyway, all I'm saying about all of that is this. Even if you take that angle away, these people were taking money from hard-working Americans to pay white supremacists for information. Why does a group like the SPLC need informants? It's not supposed to be a thing. It's not supposed to be a thing, which is why it makes the rest of it a lot more likely. All right, so we're going to take the break because I don't know how long Gene's clip is. I haven't timed it out yet. So we're going to do the law enforcement tribute break, and then we will be back right here live on KLR Radio. If you're listening live, and I know a lot of you are because I can see the numbers in the dashboard, make sure you're sharing out the feeds. I don't care if you're watching from Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. And our primary backbone is still X. But make sure that you're sharing the stuff out. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you've hit that subscribe button if it's an option. Don't worry, it's free. It doesn't charge you anything. Because I don't have a subscribe button on X yet. Or you can hit the follow button on X. But yeah, wherever you're finding us, if you like us, make sure you're liking, sharing, because the dreaded algorithms are a bitch and they keep changing them, which makes it even worse because every time we get it sorted out, they're like, we got to make another change again. All right. This one is from, again, KLR Radio House Band. I almost said KLR Radio Players because because we have a play tonight. But anyway, and this is our tribute to all first responders, including those with the headsets on. Because, yeah, y'all got a stressful job, too, and y'all don't get enough credit. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the sirens faded, before the scene is clear, someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Always standing in the gap for us all. For those who run it, for those who hold steady, for those who stand in the gap.
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. It'll take me a second to get this queued up, so don't mind me while things look a little weird on the screen, because despite my asking several times, Restream has not made a way for us to set things up on the fly behind the scenes without it changing over to the active screen. It wouldn't be that hard. All they'd have to do is add a toggle switch, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, so I promised you this before the break, and I want to make sure we get to this at least, because I don't know when the presser is going to start. Sometimes they start on time, sometimes they don't, and I do want to carry that and cover that today. So, as I mentioned before the break, before we went into the a little bit more into the SPLC stuff, I did a guest hit on Behind the Enemy Lines, which has been happening a little bit lately, which is fine. I love what I do. So even though everybody's like, dude, you work all the time, I'm like, yeah, it's because everybody's always asking me to do their shows and do this things and do these things. And I like that. I like the fact that I'm getting to that point. But anyway, so Gene and I have known each other for years. We've worked together, since 2015, 2016. So what, 11 years? 10, anywhere between 10 and 11. I don't remember the exact date. However, according to him, we got into it. I thought it was a spirited discussion. However, because he did say we got into it, I thought I would play this today. It's going to run for probably take us pretty close to the end. Well, no, I guess not. It's only about 16 minutes. But anyway, I don't know. I may pause and add commentary at some point along the way too, which is why I'm saying it may take us to the end of the hour. I don't really know, but we'll find out together. All right, so let's make sure it's on the screen. You guys can see it now. And here we go. Hang on. You're excusing them too, because they do this every time. They wait until the last minute so they know exactly the number they need to tip the scales.
Let's reason this out. Who's the they? Identify the people.
What do you mean, who's the they?
The nebulous they doesn't cut it for me. That's what I'm saying. Let's talk about this ballot proposal that Virginia just voted on and is now in limbo because a court in Virginia has ruled an entire election unconstitutional. So this is what the ballot provision looked like. A proposed constitutional amendment. The question posted to voters was, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness to the upcoming election while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistrictings after the 2030 census. Now, I don't have to be a lawyer to tell you this is some bullshit, the way that this is phrased. Restore fairness? What the hell is this? Now, to be clear, Republicans in Virginia did try to amend this language by taking the matter to court, and the court said, well, this is too premature because it wasn't put to the voters. Well, it went to the voters, and the result, shockingly, was that a state with a slight majority of Democrats in favor of what Democrats wanted.
Spanberger celebrating the win in yesterday's redistricting vote. Voters narrowly approving a new pro-Democrat congressional map in a controversial referendum that critics have slammed as a, quote, power grab. The outcome threatens the already very tight Republican House majority. Mark Meredith is live in Alexandria, Virginia, with more on this. And Mark, that vote ended up pretty narrow.
Bill, it sure did a lot narrower than some people were expecting, and Virginia voters showed up in huge numbers to determine Tuesday's redistricting referendum. This morning, Democrats are celebrating the outcome, saying they're putting a check on President Trump's power, but Republicans say this is simply proof that Virginia has lost its way. More than 3 million people cast their ballot in what you said was a narrowly defined race. However, voters chose to give the legislature power to redraw congressional maps before November's midterms. The new map is expected to take Republicans down from 5 congressional districts to 1. We heard from the chair of the National Republican Congressional Committee, who wrote, Democrats can't redraw reality. This close margin reinforces that Virginia is a purple state that shouldn't be represented by a severe partisan gerrymander.
And of course, blah, 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 politics, and all of that. But then later on, that same day as that broadcast, talking about the results from, as we're recording this, yesterday's election, the courts stepped in on at the behest of Republicans, and the election has been thrown out temporarily.
Circuit Court in Virginia ruled a short time ago, within the past 2 hours, that the redistricting referendum passed by voters yesterday is unconstitutional. The judge is now blocking certification of the election and denying a motion to stay pending appeal. Virginia's Democratic Attorney General responding by posting that he plans to appeal that. Correspondent Mark Meredith has
Plenty of new drama here in the Commonwealth tonight. Republicans are challenging the legality of yesterday's ballot measure. They have asked a judge to throw out the case, essentially to wait for it to happen. An injunction was issued. The judge agreeing. Democrats, as you mentioned, say they are going to appeal, that there's no merit to this case, that they believe this is an attempt to override the will of the voters. Either way, Brett, this is creating a lot more chaos ahead of November's midterms.
Donald Trump and Republicans launch this gerrymandering war. We're going to finish it.
Yeah, sure. So I want to start with Ross on this. Your reaction to this very tumultuous almost 48 hours in Virginia.
So let me start off with this. Constitutionally speaking, I really don't have an issue with state legislatures redrawing maps, right? Because that is what the Constitution says. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the courts get involved with this. But that's not what's happening here, right? This is like a lot of states, for some reason, put it into their state constitutions and limited themselves on what they can do. But constitutionally speaking, states can redraw their maps, their state legislatures. Point number 2. I don't even understand how ballot measures are a thing in this country. We are not a democracy, right? We are a representative republic, right? You elect representatives to make these decisions in your state legislature, right? You can't have, if you look at the actual text of the proposed constitutional amendment, I'm not talking about what appeared on the ballot. It is much longer and much more detailed, right? This is a little snippet that they put in for the voter who is too dumb to read the whole thing, right? So clearly this is tainted, right? It's talking about restore fairness temporarily, right? That's bullshit. It should have been the whole thing if we're going to let people vote instead of their representatives. And then I just want to say the last thing here on this. Point 3. Even if this thing gets struck down by the courts, right? And that's still a big if. Republicans need to wake the fuck up and respond in kind, right? Any states, Indiana, I'm talking to you. Florida, I'm talking to you. South Carolina, I'm talking to you. If you haven't redrawn your maps yet to gerrymander the shit out of them and eliminate Democrat seats, what are you waiting for? They are playing for keeps. They lied their way into office in Virginia and New Jersey, claiming they're moderates. She specifically said that she would not do this, and now she's doing it. Redraw your maps and eliminate the fucking filibuster in the Senate and ram shit down their throat before it's too late.
And just to put a final point on what you're saying to Republicans, Ross, Rick, there was an article in The Hill today where Republicans are warning DeSantis's redistricting push is fraught with peril. I don't feel great about it. A Republican consultant with a close relationship to DeSantis and the legislature told The Hill when asked about the redistricting session that DeSantis is looking to do here.
I'm giving them my answer while you're reading. I'm giving them my answer while you're reading.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was already giving them my answer while you were reading. That's my answer. They can fuck off.
I don't have the screen on. I assume you gave the finger.
Yeah, they can fuck off. I didn't know you didn't have the screen on. But anyway, yeah, I was giving them the finger the entire time you were reading. But yeah, no, seriously, look, and this is the stuff that Ross and I talk about pretty much every time I'm on here. The Republicans are fucking spineless jellyfish who need to find their sacks. Because you've already got the raging Cajun fossil Carville telling everybody, when we get the Senate and the House and the presidency back, we're going to do this, and this, and y'all can all fuck off and die in a fire. And the Democrats are cheering and the Republicans are pearl-clutching. The thing that scares me is after listening to Thune, and I don't trust him anymore any further than I can throw him, according to him, even if they did do away with the filibuster, they still wouldn't have the up or down votes to pass half the stuff that they're trying to pass, which is fine. My point with this the entire time is let's do away with it. Then everybody has to go on record as to whether or not we have the 5149. And then we can start sending money to primary people that don't fall in line with the rest of us, because we're talking about 80-20 issues that they're always on the wrong side of. We're almost always on the right side of. And our side still can't get it done because they still want to just go along to get along. The thing nobody's talking about with Virginia last night, up until right at the end, it was yes winning. Almost the exact amount of mail-in ballots they needed to tip it came in under the wire. It's the same fucking thing that happened in 2020. Same thing, just on a smaller scale. And nobody's talking about it.
Well, those votes come in from the cities, and the cities are notoriously slow for counting. I get the point. Point's well taken.
But see, hang on. You're excusing them too, because they do this every time. They wait until the last minute so they know exactly the number they need to tip the scales. They do this every time. And then we're so much bigger than everybody else, it takes us longer.
Okay. Let's reason this out. Who's the they? Identify the people.
What do you mean, who's the they? All the Democrats that have their fingers on all the scales everywhere.
But it can't be the same Democrats in Virginia that were the same Democrats in Georgia, the same Democrats.
Can it not?
Who's the they? Who's the they? I want the name of the people who did it.
Can it really not be the same people?
No.
With the way technology works today, these people can't be getting their marching orders from other places?
My point is the nebulous they doesn't cut it for me. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if the nebulous they doesn't cut it for you, I don't know how to make it any clearer to you that we've been getting screwed over for the last 6 years.
I mean, we're going to be talking about a story later with the Southern Poverty Law Center that we are identifying the they, and there's a lawsuit that resulted from it. But we'll get to that.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, though. The they are there. We need to stop pretending they're not and start recognizing the fact that we are at war with these people and they hate us and they want us all dead.
And Gene, until you tell me who they are,
let me tell you who they are. You know who they are. You've seen the New York City Board of Elections up close and personal. Most times, they don't even have enough Republicans, so they just name a guy a Republican to work at a voting booth, right? And that's at the voting booth where you get to see them. Then you go to the Board of Elections, where the actual workers work that are paid by the state or the city, that are appointed by the parties. And do you believe that half the people, Gene, that the Republican Party that you and I were a part of in Brooklyn were actually Republicans? Or actually had two brain cells that were firing? No, they are those people, right? The people that are stuffing ballot boxes at the local level, the people who are counting the votes, right? That's the they, right? It's no coincidence, Gene. Every voting system since the Help America Vote Act, HAVA, back in the day, has supposedly gotten more money to get better and faster. And why are the big cities who have all the broad, all the high-speed internet, their vote totals are always delayed? How? Why? Right? The rural places that are doing it in a barn get their fucking votes tallied up and submitted quicker than the big cities. Why?
Yeah, because there's 25 people on a chicken going to vote there. Of course they're going to get it done faster. One for Nelson, two for Nelson.
Before I turn it over to Eugene, so Rick was saying that even if we got rid of the filibuster, we might not be able to pass what we want. And I agree. We probably won't. But here's the thing. We know they will do it. And how do I know they'll do it? Well, first of all, they said they were going to get rid of the filibuster, right? They've been threatening it for years. And then second, this is like quite telling too, and I feel like this doesn't get enough press. The Democrats for a long time, and the Republicans are so scared of this, the Democrats for a long time have always been like, government shutdowns are terrible, and we can't do that, and it hurts the people, and it's always the Republicans' fault. The Democrats don't even pretend that anymore. They're actually wearing it as a badge of honor. They're shutting down the Department of Homeland Security of all entities, right? So the point is, these people are playing for keeps. So whether or not we can pass a bill by eliminating the filibuster is irrelevant. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. Get rid of it now, right? Redistrict now.
I get everything that you're saying, but when I see a vote that is separated by a few percentage points, I'm not inclined to say that an election was stolen in a state that has that pretty much parity between both sides, and the election comes out at 51-49, that they know the exact number of votes just to tip it in that fashion. It's still a 300,000 vote difference, whether it was counted early on in the count or after the count. But putting that aside for a second, and that's certainly a discussion that we can continue on in future shows here. When it comes to this court decision, I'm kind of hopeful. If a judge finds that an injunction was warranted from the certification of the election because it's unconstitutional, that to me means three things. That means that the Republicans were able to prove that they have a likelihood of success on the merits, that they were prejudiced by it, that the balance of equities are in their favor here. And that to me shows that the proof that they're submitting to the court is so compelling that a judge, albeit a Republican judge, don't make any mistake, they went to a Republican county to file this, that a judge was able to say that they have an argument in the game. Obviously, this is not going to end here. Jay Jones is going to be appealing this, the same guy who was fantasizing about killing Republicans and their deaths and their children and what they would do and all that. But ultimately, I think this ends up at the Supreme Court, or it gets timed out to the point where it won't take effect this year and it'll all be for naught anyway. And that's where I'm not going to go into the speculations of, they did this or we did that, or we should be doing this. I think the admonishments to Republicans, total agreement with. Get some balls. Absolutely correct. Back Ron DeSantis and his redistricting initiative. Indiana missed the boat. They can't do it anymore. Their deadline passed, and they fucked Republicans nationally on that. And after the Supreme Court weighs in on the Louisiana case, which should be coming very soon, by the way, I think you'll see a lot of Republican states going forward talking about this and getting this redistricting maps out there and done in time. So in that sense, you don't need the filibuster. You just need good legal arguments. And as a lawyer, I endorse that message. I know Ross hates that. If you like that clip from our new show, Behind the Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, before we get to break, I think I can squeeze in one more story here before we get to break. Well, kind of an extenuation of the same story, I guess, because is it me or does this seem like a threat? I could be wrong, but it seems to me this kind of seems like a threat, and this is dovetailed into what we were talking about on Gene's show, and then I've got bit of clarification I want to make before we take the break. Of course, when we take the break, we'll be doing the military tribute to try to make room for the press. I could have sworn I saw a Chiron that there was a presser today, but I don't see that they've set anything up on the channels yet. So I don't know. We'll figure it out when we come back. But anyway, okay. So is it me or does this sound like a threat?
How would Democrats respond if the Virginia nonpartisan Supreme Court does ultimately strike down the ski map and find the referendum illegal?
The law is with us in Virginia. The facts are with us in Virginia. And the people are with us in Virginia. There's no basis in law or fact for the Virginia Supreme Court under the Constitution that exists, particularly in the aftermath of a people-approved referendum, to do anything other than to allow it to move forward. Susan?
Okay.
So yeah, that basically sounds like a you better do what we want you to do or else kind of scenario. Now I will give him credit. He didn't come out and say it. It kind of seemed to me that was kind of the angle they were going to take with it, but that isn't exactly what came out in that clip. However, I think he actually said it later, so I'm going to pull the article back up because I could have swore that was actually in there somewhere. Anyway, no, I guess it was all that. But yeah, so basically all he's really saying is, there's no precedent for them to be able to do anything but to let this go. Here's my thing, and this is what the point that I was trying to make with Gene. And sadly, I was already 3 hours into what? Actually, no, I'm sorry. I was 5 hours in that point to a 12-hour day by the time I was done with everything. So, and that counts the broadcast from earlier in the day. So I didn't make my point as clearly as I wanted to, but he knows who the nebulous they are. Talking about the folks in charge of the Blue City election boards. They do this every time. They did this in 2020. They wait and they let all the early counties report in first, and then they figure out exactly what the math needs to look like, and then they find a way to make the math fit, which is the exact impression that Virginia gave. Also, I would like to point out that there may have been a 51-49 split on that, kind of, sort of. I know that's not the exact numbers, but I know it was only 2 or 3 percentage points. But you're telling me that by 2 or 3 percentage points, they get to redraw a map to 10-1? If anything, even if you don't count the vote as crooked, then the fact that it was that close means it should remain the 6-5 that it already was, because that's the exact math as far as that vote came out, is 6-5. But you can't make you can't make Republicans do anything, and you can't make the left make anything make sense. So what are we gonna do? All right, so I'm gonna talk about this, then we will take the break because I think I've got time to fit it in. Giggity. But yeah, so TMZ asked a question at a Pentagon briefing. That alone makes me feel like I woke up in a different timeline. But the guy that the left hates kind of put on a bit of a master class after the question. So here we go.
I've heard you talk a lot about bombing people and places. And when you give these orders to carry out this extreme level of violence, what's going through your mind and your body? Do you have like an adrenaline rush? Are you scared? Do you feel like you're on a power trip? Just walk us through and paint us a picture of what it feels like mentally and physically.
It's a very TMZ question. My only thought process is to ensure that our warfighters have everything they need to be successful, defeat and destroy the enemy, and they come home. I want them to feel empowered, to have every authority they need within our rules and within our law to bring maximum violence to the enemy. Because war is violent, war requires doing difficult things, but I want our people to feel empowered, so it's our guys that come home and their guys that.
So yeah, he goes on to basically, yeah. So anyway, that's probably about the perfect opening to that is a very TMZ question. And he's not wrong. It is. I love the fact that he's like, and I need you to tell us exactly how all of that feels. And I'm like, really? Really? But anyway. So yeah, the guy who everybody on the left keeps saying was unqualified and doesn't know how to do his job keeps kicking ass and taking names, which is probably making them a little more nervous. And I'm kind of okay with that. All right, so we're going to take the break. Again, this one will be a bit of a longer music interlude because it is our shout out to the troops. And when we come back, we'll see what's going on with the White House press feed, see if they've got it spun up yet. I still got plenty of things to talk about either way, but like I said, I could have sworn I saw a notification that there was going to be a White House press conference today, but I don't see it being pushed out anywhere yet. This is what happens when you sign up for their email list and things go sideways. Anyway, we'll be right back. Again, shout out to our troops. Whether you are active duty, retired, or reserve, this one's for you. And let's take a moment to remember those who never made it home at the same time.
Before the oath was spoken out loud, before you stood apart from the crowd, there was a moment, quiet and clear, when you chose to stand while others stayed here. You raised your hand with a steady resolve, knowing some nights don't end when the mission's done. Not for glory, not for the pay, but for something worth more than walking away. Only hold the line. They carried the weight where the roads ran long, through dust and heat when the days went on, holding ground mile after mile, doing the work that rarely drew a smile. They stood their post when relief ran late, shoulders squared under the pull of fate. Not chasing headlines, not asking why, just staying put when others pass by. We stand and watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. We stand watch over the deep. Navy. They kept their watch where the water turns black, miles from shore with no quick way back, measuring time by the rise and the fall, answering duty's unrelenting call. Through silent hours and endless seas, they stood their post in the cold night breeze, guarding the lanes the world depends on, so others slept and the light stayed on. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. Simplify Marine, we go where we're sent. We go where we're sent. They moved as one when the moment came, side by side through fire and rain. First a step where the ground was thin, not for the odds but for the ones beside them. Trust was earned in the hard way through, every promise carried by the few. No turning back once the line was crossed. They stood shoulder to shoulder as brothers, never counting the cost. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried held their focus where seconds seem eternal, soaring between clouds and blue. Every movement measured and true, knowing what one clean moment could do.
They watch the whole while guarding the small. Every mission tied to a larger call. Calm under pressure, steady and clear, keeping the promise from far overhead.
Space Force,
we guard the dark without
they
faith.
keep their vigil
Where silence reigns,
beyond the weather,
beyond the rain.
watching the paths that the world relies on, long before the warning lights come
No
on.
cloud, no banners, no clear view.
Just constant care in a canvas full of stars,
Standing the watch through the endless night,
guarding the systems that keep us in light. While the watch is kept and the lines hold fast, they're alive, still moving on the other side of that.
empty chairs and quiet phones, long goodbyes that don't feel done.
Names we carry but never say, folded flags and debts we pay. Every service, every scar reaches farther than the uniform ever could.
Coast Guard, we come when it matters most.
They launch into storms when hope feels thin. Turning back isn't an option then. Hands reach out where the waters rise, pulling lives back from the edge of time. No headlines waiting when the call is done, just breathing restored and another life won. Every rescue, every return, a quiet promise kept in the worst conditions. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One unspoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. For the ones who raised the right hand high,
Swore the oath and didn't ask us why.
for the nights you stood where freedom cost.
We remember, we honor, we won't forget the loss.
From the ground to the sea, to the open sky, to the guardians above where the silent stars fly. Every branch, every badge, every battle scar, because you stood.
We live free.
Lord, each know.
We stand here freely.
Because others stood before us. We accept the weight of what was given and the cost that came with it. We promise to remember those who serve, those who stand watch still, and those who never came home.
All right, so the show will be back in a few minutes, folks. But before we get back to that, I do want to remind you guys of the play tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. KLR Radios present a production from Listening Post Studios of Treasure Island. I will be playing the character of Bones. Damn it, Jim, I'm a podcaster, not a play actor. But here we are. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to get into character. Yeah, again, remember, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here live on klrnradio.com. My name is Rick Robinson. You're listening to my show. We'll be back in just a minute with more, because it's not like there's a shortage of anything to talk about on top of everything else. Stay tuned.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Alarm clock barking like it's got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin. Even God took a beat. So suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise them up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. HR in the break room sounding like a preacher, talking about culture smiles and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the fluorescent light, selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans and grease on my hands, clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like chains hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out alive. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on me. So raise them up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. Boss can have Monday, God on Sunday, but Friday night's mine. I ain't giving it away. I earned this beer, I earned this pay, earned every sip. World's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on to me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the program. I probably let that song play long way more than I should because I keep getting complaints. Dude, by the time you play all your ads and your music, you're like 12 minutes into the show. Dude, it's our music. I like it. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, so welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. So before we went to break, I showed you the clip from me and Gene having a bit of a heated discussion about who the they are and how he seems to not want to think that they exist. They being the folks that managed to push the Virginia election over the top by waiting until the last possible minute to release their ballot totals and be like, hey, guess what? Y'all thought you were winning, but the deep state held their ballots back, and here you go. You lost. This is despite the fact that the red districts poured out in record numbers, by the way. Just let that sink in. But look, even if you don't want to believe that they exist, even if you need more proof, look, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if after what we saw in 2020 and everything we've seen since doesn't wake you up to the fact that you don't actually get your vote very often anymore, then I don't really know what to tell you. But I will say this, even if you take the they out of the equation, even if you assume that isn't what happened, the vote tally breakdown makes it rather clear that there should be a 6-5 split in their legislature or whatever they call it. So, yeah, anyway. But yeah. No, as a matter of fact, I do not. And that's one of the reasons why for the longest time, I and folks like BZ and everybody else that does what I do have been saying, let's go ahead and pass all the election integrity stuff once we know for sure what's in it and make sure that it's actually going to do what it says it's going to do. And then if we keep losing, we know we lost. Right now, I don't trust any elections. And trust me, they're doing that on purpose. Both sides are fomenting distrust in our system, because I'm going to remind you guys of something real quick before we move on to the next story. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. We were an experiment from our inception, and there have been people and organizations and countries that have wanted this experiment to fail from the beginning. Everybody seems to forget, because we talk about how often we meddle in other people's affairs. Guess what? We learned it from the best. Guess who helped foment the Civil War? France in the north, Mexico in the south. Because they wanted their territories back. Nobody talks about that part. Because it's not narratively convenient. Nobody talks about the fact that slavery was already on the way out the door. The Industrial Revolution had begun. The North didn't need slaves anymore, so they started using that as a pushing point to make everybody else get rid of it, because our founding fathers weren't ever really a fan of slavery for the most part anyway. They wanted it gone from the beginning. However, since they couldn't do that, how they made sure that the South, with predominantly more slaves than the North always, even before the North found a way to not really need them anymore, was put in check by making sure the 3/5 compromise was passed so that they couldn't count their slaves in their population, thereby raising their seat count. Now, why do I bring that up? Because what are we seeing happen all over the country right now in deep blue cities and deep blue states? They're bringing in people that shouldn't be able to be counted towards our census because they're not citizens, to be counted towards our census so that they can keep their hold in the House. So for everybody, with everything that's come out with the SPLC today, or over the last few days, everything that's come out with the Virginia vote, everything that's come out with Swalwell, if you still think the Democrats aren't the same old party that they used to be, when you throw in the immigration debacle, then I can't help you anymore. Because their playbook has never changed. They tried to convince you that it did. And for a long time, a lot of folks bought it. But now even the commies are pissed. We'll get into that in a minute as well. Because Mom Donnie, the commie, is being sued by the NIMBY crowd, which carried him in the area where he's being sued by like 40 points. So I guess the honeymoon's over. But before we get into that, I got to talk about this before we go north. I got to talk about this because there's a bit of a brouhaha going on between DeSantis and Jeffries, but we'll get to that in a second. I have to admit I haven't paid that much attention to why this has happened, but now that I'm seeing who they have elevated to the Navy Secretary, which I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm just gonna call him HC because otherwise it sounds like I'm saying he's a well-endowed bovine. So we're just gonna call him HC since I don't know how to pronounce his name. But the reason I want to share this with you is because I didn't know how I felt about him at first, but he and I would probably get along just fine based on what I'm seeing from his sense of humor. And here you go, right here.
This is great. I know I'll be attacked by left and call me white supremacist, but I have one ask for them. It's just when you give me my hood, make sure it's got the little slits and not the circles so I can see better. This is great.
Okay, so first of all, because you know what's going to happen, but I'm going to laugh my ass off when they try to call this guy a white supremacist because last I checked, he ain't white. But I couldn't. His sense of humor and mine are a lot alike because I make fun of myself all the time. But I thought it was absolutely glorious when he was like, when they fit me for my hood, please make sure they give me the slits so I can see instead of the round holes. Okay, because that is exactly something like I would say. And I say things like that often about myself. So those of you who know me know this to be true. But yeah, I had to talk about that because that was just an amazing moment. Because I'm like, dude, he could, if we were anywhere, if we didn't look so different, he could be my brother. Just saying. We didn't look so different, he could be my brother. Because we have apparently a very similar sense of humor. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely amazing. So I definitely wanted to talk about that because it's just hilarious. It really is. So, I told you I wasn't going to read this, but I think I am. This is from Peter Gimmis and on X he goes by, it looks like Gothburz, Gothburz. I'm not going to read all of it because it's like a multi-post screed, or would have been if not for the character count that you can do when you have a check mark. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I wanted to give you the flavor of this because I touched on it earlier. So this is in response to the SPLC coverage. I have given the Southern Poverty Law Center $340 a year since 2014. That is $34,000, 10 years, automatic withdrawal. I set it and forgot it the way you forget a subscription to a meditation app you stopped using in February. I did not donate to fight hate. I donated so I could stop thinking about hate. Those are different products. The SPLC sold the second one. I found out last Monday 11 federal counts, wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering. The indictment is 47 pages. I read every single page. I read them the way you read a biopsy result when the doctor's voice changes mid-sentence. Here's what my $340 a year bought. The SPLC paid informants inside of the KKK. They paid informants inside of the Neo-Nazi National Alliance. They did this for 40 years. So everybody in the leftist media is acting like, in the zombie media is acting like this is a new thing. They have been doing this for 40 years. They called them the Fs, short for field sources. Internal code name. It sounds like a file folder designation because it was in fact a file folder designation. One informant received over $1 million in between 2014 and 2023. Let me say that differently. In the same calendar years, I was setting up my automatic donations to fight white supremacy. The Southern Poverty Law Center was cutting checks to a man inside the National Alliance. He was being paid more per year than I make. He was inside a neo-Nazi organization. My money and his money came from the same account. I paid them to fight the people they were paying. Somewhere in Montgomery, a line item balanced perfectly. They sent me a thank you card. It's still on my refrigerator. It has a stock photo of diverse children holding hands, and it says, "Because of you, hate has no safe harbor." It is next to my daughter's finger painting of a horse and a Thai takeout menu from a place that closed during COVID. The card cost 11 cents to print. The informant inside of the National Alliance cost $111,000 a year. Same fund. The shell accounts were named Fox Photography and Rare Books Warehouse. I need you to sit with that for a moment. Rare Books Warehouse, someone at the SPLC, someone with a title and a parking space, and a benefits package that would probably make all of us jealous, funded by people like me and you, sat in a conference room and said, what should we name the shell company we use to pay our neo-Nazi friends? And someone else said Rare Books Warehouse. And everyone in the room nodded, smiled, and probably clapped each other on the back. There were probably blueberry muffins because, let's face it, there are always blueberry muffins. Somewhere in that conference room, there was a whiteboard that said Q3 field source disbursement, probably in a blue dry erase marker, and under it, Fox Photography with a check mark next to it. I know this because I know how conference rooms work. The muffins, yeah, they're pretty much always blueberry. Another informant was paid $270,000. He was in Charlottesville. He was in the Unite the Right planning chat. I'm going to say that part again. He was in the Unite the Right planning chat. He was in the chat where they planned the rally where Heather Heyer was murdered. The SPLC knew he was in the chat. SPLC was paying him to be in the chat. Now, this is where it gets fun. After Charlottesville, the SPLC sent me a fundraising email. The subject line said, "This is why we fight." I screenshotted it and posted it to Instagram. With a black square, 7 people liked it. One of them was my therapist. I opened the email. It said the events in Charlottesville proved why the SPLC's work was more important than ever. It had a red donate button. I clicked that red button with abandon because I felt like I was doing something. And I am editorializing his post a little bit just because I'm reading it and it's boring otherwise. The fundraising email did not mention the informant. Of course they didn't. The fundraising email did not mention Fox Photography. The fundraising email did not mention that the SPLC had a man inside the planning and chose to use him as an intelligence asset rather than, say, calling the cops. The fundraising email said fighting hate requires resources. I provided resources. The resources fought hate by funding it. My donation subsidized both sides of the same transaction. I was the float. I put the bumper sticker on my car, the one that says hate has no home here. I put it on I swear this dude's a guy, but he's driving a Subaru, so maybe he's a wannabe lesbian. I don't know. I put it on a 2016 Subaru Outlook Wilderness Green Metallic, which is apparently the most SPLC donor car in the history of motor vehicles. Hate had no home in my car. Hate had a condo in Montgomery. You know, that place in Alabama. A shell account called Fox Photography, and a direct deposit schedule. My spouse asked me once, and this was in 2018, do you actually know what they do with the money? I said, they fight hate. She said, how? I said, they back hate groups, or they track hate groups and then take them to court. And she said, have they taken anyone to court recently? I changed the subject. Of course I changed the subject. I changed the subject in the way you change the subject when you realize the answer is no, but the bumper sticker is already on the car, and you used it as your profile picture on 2 separate platforms. My tax preparer asked about it April 2019. She said, oh, the SPLC, good for you. I got $37 back on my taxes because of the amount that I donated that year. The informant inside the National Alliance got $111,000. We both filed in April. Mine went to H&R Block. His went through Fox Photography. The IRS treated both of us like Vaunted philanthropist. The SPLC's endowment is, I'm probably going to stop here, but I needed you to hear this number. The SPLC's endowment is $732 million. And I would have said the same thing, but this is actually from the author of the post. I need you to hold that number, $732 million in an endowment for a nonprofit that fights hate. That is more money than the GDP of 10 sovereign nations. Hate is apparently a growth industry. The SPLC found the arbitrage. You can monetize both the existence of hate and the appearance of fighting it simultaneously if your donors never check the ledger. I never checked the ledger. That's where we're going to leave that, because it does open up into the conversation points that I wanted to talk about when it comes to this in more detail, because this is exactly what's happening, and it's happening more often than you think. Look at what happened with the USAID. It has been gutted. It no longer does half of what it used to do, actually 2/3 of what it used to do, because it was being used to foment uprisings in other countries. I talked about this 3 or 4 years ago. There was money trying to go to countries in Africa that had strings, like you have to talk to people, you have to talk to your children about transgenderism. And they said, no, we don't want your money anymore. They don't want your money. They don't want or need our money anymore, because they're not going to be teaching their kids about things like chopping their own penises off. This is how far afield this country has gotten. And if you think, now that we're starting to scratch the surface, you think, it's bad, but it's not that bad. Trust me, if this is what is easily coming to light, you don't want to know what's still below the surface. That's the part that scares me the most about what we're talking about today. Because with the fraud that we've been able to find, with the ties to Chinese spies that we've been able to find, with the fact that they used an entire made-up argument to try to remove someone from office, to try to keep someone from being seated into office, and they collaborated with alphabet soup agencies to be able to do it. This tells you exactly how broken our country is. We may not want to face it yet, but let me tell you another quick example of how you can know exactly how broken our country is. This is, again, our 250th birthday, so to speak. Anybody got their proud to be an American stuff out like we did in when it was the 200th anniversary or 200th birthday? Anybody? Because almost nobody. They have broken the back of this country, and they don't want you to know it or to realize it, because they have already done the work. They have been doing this work for over 100 years. If you've listened to this show in America Off the Rails, I have been connecting the dots for you now for over a decade and a half, showing you exactly where they put pressure, exactly where they've exerted force, and exactly why so much of this country is broken now. And they did it on purpose, because they don't want you to trust the system. There's a reason that everybody, and I do mean everybody, that's elected to office for the most part, hates Donald Trump. If you don't believe that is the case, listen to the head of the Senate, who has the same letter behind his name, telling people over and over and over again, Donald Trump wanting to nuke the filibuster is a pipe dream. We're not doing that here. Last I checked, he's the guy at the top of the ticket. Now, I realize that I spent a lot of my most of my childhood growing up in families that respected the military, with a family that was in the military, and then spent a lot of my adult life in command structures. But last I checked, when the guy at the top tells you he wants something done, you either get it done or you get out the way. Thune has done neither. All right, so we're going to take a break because we're at the bottom of the hour. This is one of our newer ones, again, put out by the KLR Radio House Band. Since we've already done the tributes, we're going to go to break with this one. I got plenty of other things to talk about when we get back, and I'm going to look to see if Her Hotness's presser ever popped off, because I could have swore I saw it on a Chiron earlier, but I haven't seen anybody setting up the pages yet. So we'll look on the break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
They tried to quench the fire, drown it all in chains, tried to break our will and wash away our names, but every spark
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLR.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. The players will man the rigging soon. A ship, a single breath. The course is not set yet. We play a sail, we play a sail, we play a sail soon. All hands to KLRN Radio, setting sail for Treasure Island, March 2026.
My name is Rick Robinson. We are live. It is Friday. Don't forget, here in a little less than an hour and a half, we're going to have Weekend News Roundup. I will hopefully be joined by a panel of miscreants to go over this stuff again. Yeah. Are you sure you want to be responsible for all that weight? That's usually where people get hung when they do bad things. Anyway, but yeah, as BZ was pointing out, in the chat when I was going through everything else, yeah, like I said, I was like 3, so I don't remember. But I remember everybody telling me how great it was, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be around for the one, because I know I ain't making it to 2076. I wish I could say that would be possible, but that would put me at like 100 and something. And unless we can make old people young again, I don't really want to live that long. I'm not saying I won't if given the opportunity, because, still, in my belief system, suicide is still considered a sin. And I know to the Catholics, it's basically the unforgivable sin. I will say this. I honestly think that the blaspheming the Holy Spirit that the Bible talks about, which is the only apparently unforgivable sin, is when you know that the Holy Spirit and therefore Jesus is knocking at the door of your heart and you keep ignoring it. I'm pretty sure that's the only unforgivable sin. Because if deathbed confessions can work, then that has to be the only unforgivable sin, in my opinion. But there's a reason I don't run a church anymore, because I don't always align with doctrine. So I've been called a heretic more than once. Kind of okay with that, though. All right, so let's see. There was something else that I wanted to get to. Oh, yeah. So, of course, the impeachment rumbles are already starting. And it looks like either I misremembered something that I saw on a Chiron today, because I could have sworn they had said there was going to be a presser at 1 p.m. Eastern time today, which would have been roughly 38 minutes ago. Or there was a timeline shift between when I got up this morning and when I started the show. With what I do every other Saturday night, I will let you guys be the judge, because I don't really know. All right. So we've got a couple things to talk about still, because I told you guys, even if we didn't do the presser, I had so much material it wouldn't necessarily matter anyway. especially since we try to do things a little bit differently on Fridays and have a bit of fun. So Hakeem the Hawk to it, Congress critter Jeffries. Yes, I said what I said. And yes, it's a stretch, but it came to me and I decided to try to run with it. And it wasn't nearly as funny outside of my head as it was inside. But he's kind of stepped in it again. Because now he's trying to pick a fight with Governor DeSantis. And DeSantis ain't having none of it. This is a curated clip from our friends over at wait a minute, where'd I go? Oh, wait, I didn't go far enough. This is a curated clip again from our friends over at Buffoon of the Week and Behind Enemy Lines, but it kind of sums it up in a very nice little short form format. So here we go.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out.
Yeah, I want to be tough.
If they go down the road of a DeSantis dummy mander, the Florida Republicans are going to find themselves in the same situation as Texas Republicans.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
The Republicans are dummy mandering their way into the minority before a single vote is cast because they started this war and we're going to finish it.
Ron, what do you say?
No, Florida can't do. We're going to go after Florida. Please be my guest.
You feeling froggy? Danley?
I will pay for you to come down to Florida and campaign. I'll put you up in the Florida governor's mansion. We'll take you fishing. We'll do all this stuff. There's nothing that could be better for Republicans in Florida than to see Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries, everywhere around this state.
Bring it, bitch.
The door is open. The invitation's out there. I don't think there'd be anything better for the Republican Party of Florida but to have Jeffries there.
So Jeffries, not leaving well enough alone, has doubled down after this most recent exchange. And I can't find a clip for it anywhere, so I'm just going to give you the Cliff's Notes version of what I heard this morning when I was doing show prep. And if I'd have been thinking about it, I would have had that screen up on my computer screen and actually ripping the clip myself, but I didn't think about it. So here we are. Basically, he's doubled down and, if the most uncharismatic governor in the country wants to talk crap, then let him, is basically what he said. I think Hakeem Jeffries calling anybody uncharismatic might be one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And this, again, goes towards the Democrats' no good, very bad year. Just as we start closing out the show and start moving towards the end, let me remind you what we found out so far. You can't scratch a Democrat organization without finding fraud. The first rock you overturn, you're going to find some. We found out USAID was basically the Democrat money laundering scheme. We found out that they were basically funneling money into the USAID just to funnel it back into the campaigns that they wanted to be able to win. We now, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, have proof that shady crap happened in Virginia to pass that redistricting bill. Because again, no was in the lead until right at polls, about an hour after polls closed, and all of a sudden, all of the blue cities started reporting in, and it was yes. Have you noticed the pattern? And this is one of the points I tried to make with Gene before he started trying to say, tell me who the they are. The they are, and I'm going to say this again, I didn't say it well enough on his show, so I'm going to say it again now. The they are the election integrity folks and the election board members in those blue cities that are willing to do whatever it takes to win and have said so out loud in other places. The fact that we keep acting like just because we found this in other places, we can't necessarily prove that it's happening here. Yeah, we kind of can, because the pattern remains the same. And I'm sorry, once I see a pattern, I can't unsee it, which is why I spend so much time trying to connect all these dots for you guys, hoping that more and more people are going to start being able to see what I've been able to see as far as a pattern, because this is the pattern that always holds, especially in swing states. This is what always happens. The red counties and the red districts report. The blue counties hold all their numbers back until they know exactly what the tabulation looks like on the other side. Now, you can make the argument that, well, they're much more densely packed. It takes longer for things to be counted, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Every time, all the time. Because ever since 2020, that's exactly what happens. I want to remind you again that there are third world countries that know the results of their election the same night. We're getting to the point, especially with the federal level elections, that we don't know the results until weeks from now or weeks from then. Now, Florida was made the laughingstock of the country in 2000 when that happened. Everybody was wearing Halloween costumes. Later that certification year, oh, I'm the hanging Chad, and I'm this, and I'm that, because of what a big deal it was that Florida didn't have its house in order. However, when other states have now done that, nobody says anything. So you're telling me in the 21st century, we have no way, and I mean none, to make sure that we have certified election results day of anymore? Like none? Seriously? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Right? Right? Yeah, so this is exactly what I'm talking about, because we saw this in real time way back in yesteryear 2020. And this is from BZ in the chat. Tell me the reason for nailing up plywood over windows where votes are being counted. Tornadoes, hailstorms, riots for people who hate vote counting. Yeah, the reason was they didn't want anybody to be able to look at what they were doing. Said this before, and I know it's a line from Star Wars, but democracy dies in the dark. And we've been killing it. And I understand that we are not a straight democracy. I understand that point. What I will say is this: you and I don't really have a voice anymore. We like to pretend we do. We go to the ballot box, but before that, we pick up our banner, red, blue, white, yellow, whatever it may be, and then we march off to war for our side, and we fight valiantly, and we have conversations, and we try to dissuade people and try to change their minds about things, and we march, and we fight, and we vote, and we do all these things just for the same group of people to keep going back to Washington, D.C., and doing the same things that they have always done, while we scream and yell that they haven't done anything. Looking at you again, John Thune. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have much more in the tank for Speaker Johnson as well. Now, I will say this. I get it. I understand this, that because we as a nation keep sending brokenness back to Washington, D.C. We keep sending small minorities, the small majorities, and then complain that nothing ever manages to get done because the Democrats aren't willing to work with anybody anymore, because Orange Man bad, and because they know if they gum up the works enough, the people that are in charge are going to be the ones everybody's mad at. Which goes back to exactly what I was talking about earlier today. I really do not understand the fact that folks like Spamberger and Mamdani didn't wait until after the midterms to go completely crazy, go nuts with all their crazy ballot initiatives and box stuffing and all the things that, I mean, even Mamdani's in trouble. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. Okay, so anyway. All right, so, and we'll get into that in a minute. Since we've already taken the break, I'll probably move back into that now. Also want to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine and a colleague who's actually become kind of a mentor, Jason Doyle, who had been doing a morning show on Freedom 96.9, pretty much the only station that I know of in Oklahoma that still has live content anymore that actually is local. Announced his last show this morning. I was kind of sad about that. However, he's still a producer for OETA and probably works for the best PBS there is, since they try to do things down the middle there, but it is Oklahoma, so they understand their audience. So, you know, I also did find out apparently another friend of mine is assuming the spot, which didn't connect the dots yesterday when I caught a little bit of their show. But yeah, Aaron Brillbeck, those of you who know me here locally, you'll know pretty much anytime I had a shot in studio, I was usually having him on at some point, and some of my best times in studio were with him. So I'm going to be curious to see, starting this next week, what he does with the time slot. Anyway, enough promoting other people. Back to the show. Back to the shoe, because it was a really big shoe. All right, so we kind of went through the SPLC stuff already. kind of touched on the Virginia stuff already. Going back through my notes to see what we've covered. Oh, yeah. So here we go. Here's the one I wanted to talk about. So Mamdani and NIMBY. Everybody remember NIMBY, not in my backyard? Because, for the left, compassion always stops at the property line. So let's talk about this for a second, because NIMBY, again, is back in the news. Most people know what NIMBY means, not in my backyard. For those of you who didn't, I just explained it. And let me say this up front. I understand NIMBY. I really do. Most normal human beings have some version of NIMBY in them. You like your neighborhood. You bought where you bought, or you rent where you rent, because there is something about that place that works for you. You know the traffic. You know the parking. You know the noise. You know where the weird guy walks his dog. Hey, I feel like that was a shot at me. At 6:15 every morning. So when somebody says good news, we're dropping a major new project right in the middle of your life, most people don't actually respond with, oh, that's awesome. Please make everything more complicated for me. So the NIMBY part's not necessarily the scandal. The hypocrisy, though, yeah, that's the big deal. That's what we're going to be talking about for the last little bit. So East Village residents in New York sued over a plan tied to Mayor Zoran Mamdani, the commie, to relocate people from a homeless shelter into their neighborhood. According to Sinclair Broadcasting's KOMO, they reported the lawsuit argues Mamdani declared an emergency to close the shelter and quickly relocate people into the East Village. And that's where this becomes beauty to behold, because these are not deep red voters suddenly shocked by blue city policy. These are people living in one of those neighborhoods that loves progressive slogans. Remember that guy with the bumper sticker we were talking about a little bit ago? Yeah, that's basically these people. Loves the language, loves the moral posture, loves the idea of compassion, as long as compassion is still theoretical. But when the compassion gets a street address, when the policy walks out of the campaign brochure and onto East 3rd Street, suddenly everybody becomes a constitutional scholar with a side of zoning attorney. And again, to be fair, maybe they have a point. Maybe the city did rush it. Maybe the legal process was sloppy. Maybe this particular building is the wrong location. Maybe a citywide adult male intake center raises real concerns about safety, sanitation, policing, traffic, schools, residents, all of it, all the things. And those are, in fact, legitimate questions and concerns. But here's the problem I have with those, because those are the same questions conservatives, parents, homeowners, and working class neighborhoods raise all the time. And when they raise them, they're called hateful. They're called racist. They get called selfish. They get called exclusionary. They get told they lack compassion. Then the same policy shows up in a fashionable progressive neighborhood, and suddenly the left remembers, hey, there's a process for this. Suddenly environmental reviews matter. Suddenly neighborhood input matters. Suddenly public safety is not a dog whistle anymore. It's Exhibit B in the lawsuit. And that's the story. Progressive compassion is powerful stuff. As long as it comes with a forwarding address, or as long as it's something simple like a set it and forget it donation to a group that promises you that they're going to fight hate. Only for you over a decade later to find out that they have been funding the very thing they told you they were trying to fight. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the crust and the crux, almost said crust, the crux of why I say that the left is having a no good, very bad year, despite what the left-leaning media wants you to think. And I'm not saying they haven't won some elections. There have been a couple that have surprised me. I'm not saying they may not run away with the midterms, but if they do, it's because our side was stupid. Because the tissue is all there. The connections are all there. The left has been running their side of the aisle like the mob for years. And they have been using supposed not-for-profits and nonprofits to do it. Which is insane when you think about it. This is exactly what this reminds me of. And that clip that I played from Hakeem Jeffries earlier was case in point. He's basically, without coming out and saying it, nice courtroom you got there. Be ashamed if something happened to it if you don't vote the way we want. That's basically what that was. That's like a mob enforcer coming in and saying, nice place you got here. Be ashamed if something happened to it. How about you kick us a few shekels and we'll make sure nothing happens to it? That's the left. But that has been the left for as long as there has been a left. They say one thing, they do another, and then if you try to call them out on it, you're making stuff up. You're the liar. You're the racist. They have been calling me racist for as long as I have been in the public eye. And every time I turn around, they're the ones where their policies, their procedures, their things that they're doing are actually making it all worse. The scariest thing, and I've been talking about this for years because I did not understand what the driving factor was, because in 2009, when Barack Obama got elected, that was supposed to be the end all of racism in this country. A man of color finally held the presidency. That should have been a victory lap. And I have to admit, after listening to his speech after he won, I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Yes, I understand that within a month, my entire company started crumbling because everybody already knew what he was going to be doing before he actually started doing it. But I still wanted to be hopeful. I do that every time, no matter who wins. I want to trust that these people are actually doing this because they want to try to make things better for people, and they want to make sure that the country's okay, or they want to make sure that their particular city is okay. But they're not. They're all doing it for power. The only person who seems like they're willing to put everything on the line for me and you is the guy that half the country says you should hate. Let that sink in for a second. The guy who has done more to try to put America back on track is the guy that everybody says you should hate. And for the longest time, a lot of folks agreed with him. And now, according to some of those folks, even they're starting to turn away from him because they don't like some of the stuff that's happening. But I hate to say this, when both sides are terrible, you got to start looking at the lesser of two evils. And yes, I said what I said. Because both sides are terrible. And they really are. But at the same time, when you see what they're doing and how they call you back for doing the same thing that now they're doing, because, again, progressive compassion is very powerful stuff, as long as it's not in their backyard. Remember, these are all the sanctuary city saints until sanctuaries need a street number. They love housing justice right up until housing justice starts affecting their brunch parking. My favorite part is always the environmental angle, because somehow these folks go from house, house the unhoused, to have we considered the ecological balance of this concrete jungle in about 9 seconds. Now, do I blame them for not wanting a giant homeless intake center dropped into their neighborhood without a real process? Not entirely, but I do blame them for voting for the worldview, mocking everybody who warned about the consequences of that particular worldview, and then acting shocked when the worldview starts acting like the worldview that they voted for. That's the part that matters. My granddad actually had a saying, you can teach them, but you can't learn them. And that feels about right here. Because when election time comes around again, a lot of these same voters will probably walk right back into the booth and vote for the same kind of politics. They'll just hope the next shelter lands 3 subway stops away. And we've pretty much come to the end of our time together today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, on the way out the door, want to remind everybody that we have a play tonight. So no he said, she said, but in the same time slot, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we will have Treasure Island presented by Listening Post Studios, live right here on KLRN Radio, produced and directed by none other than our resident alien Jeff, with a side of the Amish. Hope you guys will join us. Even if you can't make it live, there will be a replay version available in all the usual places and spaces. So feel free to join us that way as well. I will say this, if you do catch our shows on replay, and I know sometimes I'm behind on putting them up there, so it's kind of my fault, but if you do catch our shows on replay, we would prefer that you listen to them on Spreaker because it has ad revenue built in. And the more money we make, the less I have to go, will you please scan that QR code and donate something? Which I haven't really been doing lately because I hate that part. But We are mostly listener funded, so if you like what we do, either make sure easiest way is just to listen, because the more the numbers get pumped up, the easier it is for me to put together a sponsor package. Not to mention the fact that, the listeners are what matter to us more than anything else. But it would be nice to have a solid budget so I knew exactly what I was doing every month instead of going, maybe I can pay that next month. But yeah, again, not really complaining. I did this. I decided to take early retirement, and then everything keeps trying to go crazy. So every time I think, hey, money's going to go a little further, yeah, then not so much. All right. So, as my good friend BZ likes to say, I'm on my way out the door. Please don't text the Rick. I will be back with you later tonight, and actually in just about an hour, for the Weekend News Roundup, joined by hopefully one of my usual panels of miscreants while we talk more in depth about the news of the day and to get you ready for the weekend. And mostly, want to remind you again, tonight, it is time for Treasure Island. I know we've been promoting it for a while. I've been promoting it since March because they said spring. I heard March. We still technically made it in, though it's not summer yet. So it is still technically our spring play. Also, there will be a sneak peek of our summer play. So, yeah. Did I mention we got to do a little bit of everything around here? Because we do news, we do politics, we do fun stuff. Yeah. So if you like what we do here, like I said, that QR code at the top is a donation link. I don't care if it's a couple bucks. Because I'll be honest, I'm supposedly followed by almost 13,000 people. You know, if everybody that followed me just donated $1 every month, we would have a hell of a budget. Just saying. So that's $12 a year. Most of you spend more than that on coffee. All right, I'm done because, like I said, I hate hawking shit, even when it's me. We're gonna get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you're back here in a little bit for the Weekend News Roundup. I'm gonna go make some lunch real quick while I have an hour to do that. Bye, everybody. Hey, good night, Greg.